But you do not know Mars, for its true name is Barsoom.
Hello from Mars. It's a minus 63 degrees centigrade, a little balmy, and there's no oxygen to breathe, which is always fun. Humans are obsessed with this place, and they have been ever since they discovered this weird star that didn't really stay in place in the sky. But it's only been very recently that we've started to get some HD pictures back from the surface of the planet, along with some other really amazing telemetry data and other scientific discoveries. It's very, very exciting. But if you're anything like me, you're wondering, when do I get to go, right? So we're going to talk today about some of the things that make going to Mars so darn difficult. As you've surely heard by now, space is hard. The things that you take for granted, like geosynchronous satellites and the International Space Station and putting people on the moon, are quite literally the most mind-bogglingly complex things that human beings have ever done. You think doing your taxes is hard, but that's just peanuts to space, okay? But hey, we're committed to this thing, right? Thankfully, we are not the first people to tackle this problem. NASA has a 100-page double addendum Human Exploration of Mars Design Reference Architecture. Yes, I have read it, I have annotated in the margins, and the addendums are 568 pages long. I haven't printed that out yet, it's a little expensive. What? As previously noted, I'm a huge nerd.
Let's start right off by cutting the difficulty of this problem in half. To get to Mars and back is going to push our launch date into the next century, so I'm sorry to tell you that you're going to have to say your goodbyes to Earth for at least a while.
Now let's split this problem up into 4 parts. There's problems with getting you there that are obvious, there's problems with getting you there that are not so obvious, there's problems with actually landing once you get there, and then there's problems with keeping you alive once you're there. So here's the thing, meatbag. Unlike your totally superior robotic predecessors that ran on solar power and nuclear power, you require things like food and water and air and shelter and happiness and all these other complicated things. What a diva.
Packing enough food to get you to Mars is pretty easy, but setting you up with something sustainable when you get there is a problem. We've quite literally just begun to scratch the surface of Martian soil, but the results are not promising and definitely not conducive to growing green food. So instead, we're going to need to grow our plants hydroponically. We'll provide them with extra light from specially made LEDs to account for the fact that they're going to get a lot less sunlight on Mars than they would on Earth. We can grow them in greenhouses, and we can devote 1 or 2 full-time staff to growing food. We're also going to want to keep some backups just in case of crop failure. After that, you should be pretty much set. Water is heavy, and as you'll see in part 3, weight is a huge issue when getting things into space. Thankfully, our solar system is chock full of water, and Mars is no exception. We might be able to find a landing site near an ancient glacier by the North or South Pole, or even an underground source, but that means lots more rovers and lots more orbiters out there doing recon for us ahead of time. Recycling every drop of water will also be a vital part of the process. Mars' atmosphere is 100 times thinner than Earth, and it's mostly carbon dioxide, the gas that you exhale with each breath and which your plants crave.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
Our little green rebreathers won't suffice for our human crew, though, so we need a proper machine to help them. Dubbed Moxie, this machine is already set to go to work on the new 2020 rover set to launch, sometime in the future. I can't figure out when, though. If it works, like we hope, breathing in our Mars base shouldn't be a problem once you get the insides pressurized to match Earth atmosphere. Of course, you still need a suit to walk outside. Speaking of Mars bases, let's assume we start with just the essentials. We got crew habitation, power supply, workstations, storage, including a place for our vehicles, our hydroponic greenhouse, and of course communication with Earth. Now these last 2 need to be out on the surface, but recently we've discovered some Martian caves, and those may grant additional layers of protection from the radiation once we actually find out what's in them.
So, we took care of all that and we're good to go now, right? Yeah? No. Okay, so here's the thing. In addition to all the really obvious stuff that we talked about, there are numerous additional threats lurking in the inky blackness of space and the swirling red sands of Mars, and if you ignore them, they are equally as lethal as starving and suffocating, and in some cases almost as immediate. So we need to address those, and so we will. Next week. Stay tuned.